week on Storyboard, Derek O'Brien, Member of Parliament, speaks to us about his new book, Inside Parliament Views from the Front Row. And on this week's notice board, we have the new TVC for Kentaro, and this one is definitely a tearjerker. Hello and welcome to Storyboard. This is Shibani Gharat. Derek O'Brien has successfully traversed various professions from journalism to advertising, quizzing and finally being a parliamentarian. He speaks to Storyboard editor Anant Rangaswami about his new book Inside Parliament Views from the Front Row and also talks about advertising's role in shaping him as a parliamentarian. Let's take a look at this chat.
This is a truly special Storyboard program because I think it's the first time we have an interview with a Member of Parliament on Storyboard. But why on earth are we interviewing a Member of Parliament on Storyboard? There's good reason, and that's what you're going to see starting now. Derek, welcome to Storyboard.
Hi Anand, thank you so much for having me, really.
So to begin with, Derek, if I look at your career path, job after job, occupation after occupation, you have chosen something which requires very low levels of education. You look at being a journalist, you look at being in advertising, and you look at being a member of parliament.
And quizzing in between.
And quizzing in between. We'll come to that because. But why do you choose these? Or
no, I think
were the only choices you had?
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. I think in all, whether journalism or advertising or quizzing or non-politics, I think the common thing there, Anant, has been communicating. So,
right.
As you said, low levels of education. You're
formal
right.
education. Formal education.
Yeah. But I think in all these jobs,
right.
If I think about it, the common factor is that you need to understand some complicated thing and then simplify it and present it. Which
right.
is what I'm actually doing in Parliament.
Right.
Trying to understand very complicated issues. Let me give you an example like GST.
Right.
I didn't know G of GST maybe 3 years ago.
Sure.
Then you study, and I think the other important thing, Anant, is you listen to domain experts.
Right.
So that education may not be there.
Right.
Since I used to fail in math in class. And
only in
physics.
math?
No,
Bengali?
math, physics.
Bengali?
Bengali was good.
Right.
Bengali was good, English was good. But otherwise there was a lot of red in the report card. You know that, you were in class with me.
Right.
So you'll know that. But I enjoyed elocution, debating and quizzing. So yeah, at the same time, eventually it's fun doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Sure. So now, you spent successful careers in journalism and in advertising.
Journalism was short,
but still, it was successful. It was a time when sports world was at its peak,
Yes.
So,
and Ogilvy was fun.
Ogilvy was a very strong office in Calcutta at that time.
Yes.
So
and
again,
for Delhi also created.
Yes, correct. So, why did you choose to leave them? You could have stayed there, made a name for yourself. A lot of your peers from both these businesses have become very, very big.
In advertising.
And in journalism.
Yeah, but I think I wanted to do quizzing at that time, Anand. It was a hobby.
Right.
And I remember when I told my
By
parents...
the way, that's a dynastic profession for you, right? Like you have dynastic politics. A bit
Quizzing.
of a quizzing.
Yeah, sure. But I think my dad, soul rest in peace. For him, it was a hobby.
Correct.
So he never looked at it as a profession.
Correct.
So the change is, perhaps I got my first quiz show because of my surname, but after that I made it into a profession.
Absolutely.
So we would have like
made it into a business.
Into a
in the
business.
country.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think from that point of view, that was the change.
Right.
And I had done quizzing when I joined politics. I had done about almost 20 years of quizzing.
And 45 books or something by then.
Reference books.
Sure.
But it's a quiz books.
Yeah.
But this new book, Inside Parliament.
Right. Well, that's a good plug. That was smooth.
The plug.
Yeah, the plug.
No, I was in Ogilvy for 8.5 years.
Sure, but it
so
was
you're not a
smooth.
plug.
It was smooth.
Plug.
Yeah.
And David Ogilvy always said, your product is only new one. So you must say new Inside Parliament.
Right. New. Okay. Right.
So this is the first real book because the rest you're compiling questions, you're compiling facts, and you have a good research team and you can work with them and you do all that through any quiz. But this one was by far the most difficult because besides the research, these are issues which you got to get your facts correct, and there's obviously some strong political statements there.
Sure.
But it's made a lot easier because of 6 years in Parliament. And so before I started my second term, I thought, chalo. Otherwise, people who write these books either retire and write the books. But I said, chalo karo. I hope it goes well.
So tell me.
You wouldn't have been talking to me today if I hadn't
written the book.
We hadn't
Absolutely.
written inside
No, we might have
Parliament.
been talking not on camera.
Yes, yes.
So tell me, what do you want this book to achieve? Like you started in advertising, everything you did had to achieve something. So
Good.
what does this book have? What do you expect it to achieve? What do you want it to achieve?
I think two things.
Right.
First, I think
How many parliamentarians will read this book? I mean, let me get to that
how many
first.
parliamentarians?
Will read the book out of
Will read the
700
book?
and odd, yeah.
Depends how many I give free copies to.
No, if you give even if you give free copies to all, how many will read the book?
See, Anand, there's a lot of in Parliament. I'll tell you, there's a lot of serious stuff happening in there.
Sure.
Now, out of the 750, I know all 750, but there's a lot of serious. Some of the talent in Parliament is serious, big talent.
Sure.
But I
Not doubting
think-
that for a moment.
But I think what happens is that the wrong side of Parliament, gets into the,
Public domain.
And even before Parliament, in the standing committees, there's a lot of serious debate and discussion which takes place. So I think, in a situation like this, when you shut down Parliament and you don't want to run Parliament in November, December, that's no good for Parliament. So to answer your question, how many will read? There are lots of people who read. There's a lot of seriousness which happens. But unfortunately, the negative sides of Parliament, they get highlighted. I don't want to blame anybody for that, and I think we are also responsible. So I think you asked me a question, what two things will the book do? One is, I would really believe if two more MPs from any party, if they get inspired to write their own books,
Fantastic.
I think that will be nice,
Right.
sitting in Parliament and writing a book. And the second thing is, I hope this will not be my first and last book on politics.
Right.
If it goes well, if I get a good response, some kind of response, I'd really like to do something. Because what it's really helping me do, it's helping me relax. It's helping me because writing is a great, I'm not doing television shows, I'm not doing quiz shows.
Right.
So this helps me relax. This is a little different from making a speech in Parliament.
Sure. Now, I've been a firm believer, and so have you, I think, of saying that India is much more than English. So I'm going to see this book in other languages because I think that's when it makes an impact. Are we going to see this in, say, Hindi, certainly Bengali? Are we going to see this?
I hope so, and I hope my first time I'm publishing with HarperCollins.
Right.
So I think yes, in Bangla, yes.
Right.
In Bengali, yes, because I'll tell you, the love and respect one gets being in Trinamool and going out to the districts in Bengal, because I can't make my Bengali is very good, but I still don't have that confidence to go and make a 30-minute speech in Mednipur.
Sure.
In Nodia. But people watch television, they watch Parliament. So I think yes, Bengali, yes. Beyond that, for the moment, no, I haven't thought about it, to be very frank.
Right.
But thanks for the idea.
Yeah. Derek, I went through your book and seeing there are very small references to media. I was a little surprised. I thought there would be more references to media. So when you give us a snapshot, which is not in your book, of what you think of media and today and what it should be doing. Because there is a lot of discourse in any part of society on media, especially news media, and what it should be doing.
I think for political parties, the first thing which bothers me. Well, let me give you the positive first.
Right.
You can't. No political party, good, bad, small, anything. Media is like crucial. We do
Right.
a lot of. The media is. Now, the first thing which I see is that too much focus on Delhi.
Right.
So the media as a whole is not knowing, and I'm not even talking about Trinamool and Bengal. It may be with DMK and from Tamil Nadu. So there's not enough understanding or importance given to the regional media. Northeast,
Right.
I'm not even getting there.
Right.
So it's very, very Delhi, IIC, the Khan Market, India International Center. So this is number one. And number two, which is a really scary part, this nationalist positioning which two channels have taken, this is dangerous because then you take a brand positioning and you try and make the brand, creating that brand image is so important. I think it's okay if you do it for toothpaste or chocolate, but a bit dangerous in the media.
Right.
So that to me is dangerous. But then I don't know. I can't offer a proper solution because then how do you fund the media?
Right.
That becomes another question.
No, but
as a
that's a great question. So how do you fund the media then? If this is the route that everybody seems to be finding the easy way out, what are the chances? What are the solutions? Should, for example, the government say any channel which has more than X number of viewers gets funded by the government, irrespective of your allegiance?
No, I think there's private, there's equity. It
Yes.
needs to be looked at as a business. So I
Right.
don't think there's a straight-cut answer. But there was a time even in the early days of television where people spoke. I'm not saying you've got to be praising this party and praising this party. But if you take a positioning, like we want to be a national, so-called nationalist channel.
Right.
That's a positioning you've taken. So you'll look for content
Which suits that
which
positioning.
suits the brand
and
positioning.
fits that positioning.
Which
yeah.
fits the positioning.
Right.
So the point is that I think, I don't want to get into the funding of the media, but you can't do it that way. It has to be, this is news, this is not news, or I'll look for news which fits my position. Now, the
Right.
two major channels now, which I know are getting very good TRPs, to me this is a dangerous trend. But what should worry the channels? They have to take the opposition seriously. And that's why I've written a chapter in
Yes, I saw that.
New Inside Parliament on that.
Yeah.
Because now there are about a dozen opposition parties, and it's not only Congress with 45 and Trinamool with 35 MPs, the other opposition parties are not going to the channels.
Right. Sure.
I believe that we should go to all channels, but when the situation has come, we are not going to the channels. And there's a great unity in the opposition not to go on these channels.
Right. Derek, in addition to mainstream media, you spend a lot of time on social media. You devoted a small little chapter in your book to that. And it's a wonderful list of people that you recommend should, the world should follow.
Recommend? No, I just said
okay,
that.
just a list. Okay, call it what you want. So tell me, how do you divide your time on social media? I've asked Anand Mahindra this. How do you find the time? Because sometimes it looks like you're doing nothing except being on social media.
No,
How do you
that's a
find the
good question.
time?
I think I spend about maybe an hour a day
Right.
on Facebook and Twitter. Maybe 1 hour a day on Facebook and Twitter. And I think for me that is I wish I could walk every day for 1 hour instead of doing that.
Right.
But I think a lot of the time otherwise it's an expression.
Right.
And being in the party I am, it's also important time. It's also time to express oneself, not only politically. I put up music and I do that. I enjoy it, Anand.
Right.
Frankly, I enjoy it. I'm not doing it because somebody in my party has asked me to do it.
Sure.
I enjoy 1 hour, and I think it's about 1 hour. And I think if I get my walk also into that plus 1 hour, it will be very, very good. And I think the other thing about the social media is we are not going too much on television channels. I think political journalism on television, I think that is going down.
Right.
I mean, when do you watch a program now at 8:30? You want to see something nice, and you watch a program when you watch it. So I think that is nice. We are not going on chat shows as a political party. We're not,
Right,
because
right.
we don't think we need to fight for time. But the real time is actually here,
Right.
where you get the time in Parliament, 9 minutes, 16 minutes, no interruptions, where you can express yourself. Now you have to take that Parliament speech and take it beyond Rajya Sabha TV.
Right.
But it's fun. I think it's great fun, and I think the good thing about social media and being on that, it also keeps you real. You get gali. That day someone sent me a tweet saying, "Okay, now stop tweeting about your new book inside Parliament. Tell us something else. You're promoting your book." So it's like fun.
It is time for us to take a short break, but you don't go anywhere, as on the other side of this break, Derek talks about what Indian politics can learn from advertising.